Thank you very much, Markus. And your remarks are very interesting and significant in relation to to the work that the CRPD committee and all of us have to do in relation to really preparing the soil for this prohibition that has now come into international law. And I think that does help us to, I get preparing the soil domestically, because while I think some aspects of it are understood in principle, such as the prohibition is essentially based in non-discrimination, I think that's part of the reason why we have this side event, in order to really start to tease out what are the actual obstacles and where can we intervene in these political and legal ways. Because for people with disabilities, and I think for the human rights system, there's no going back. And we just need to go forward by actually really engaging with the challenges that we're facing. So that does help to lead us into the second question, which is for all the panelists, what recommendation, and Markus has actually started us on that, what recommendations would you make to the international community, which includes states, DPOs, disabled people's organizations, other civil society organizations, academia, funders, national human rights institutions, UN mechanisms and agencies, on how to move forward together to abolish and cease or end all forced psychiatric interventions? And if your mandate or sector can contribute in particular ways that are being underutilized, or if you have ideas for cooperation that haven't been tried yet, please include. And again, I think we had already started off a little on that, but I'll give the floor to the panelists in the same order. Hege Orefellen.
Thank you. A lot could be said under this question, but due to time limits, I will focus on 2 points. The first I've called public disclosure of truth. We as the international community could work together and in different ways, for example by research, inquiries, reporting to monitoring mechanisms, testimonies of survivors and so on, document and disclosure the truth about forced psychiatric interventions, the harms done and the injuries inflicted on the victims. The right to truth is especially important for victims of forced psychiatry, where ill treatment for so long and on such a large scale has been carried out under the guise of medical treatment. Documentation and acknowledgement will be important for creating momentum in the process of absolute prohibition of forced psychiatry. In addition, victims of forced psychiatric interventions need truth about what happened, truth about the consequences, and public recognition as a first step in a process of social reintegration, justice and healing. And the second point is strategic litigation, and that has Markus Schefer already mentioned. Through history, social change has been brought about by movements of resistance led by victims of oppression, often accompanied by academics, lawyers and others who have supported the battle for equal rights and justice. To see our rights fulfilled, we as survivors of forced psychiatry will need to demand them, and one way of doing so is through strategic litigation. To use the law as a tool for social change and for changing domestic laws contrary to CRPD. Strategic litigation seems so far an underutilized tool. In Norway, we have established a pro bono group for strategic CRPD litigation for psychiatric cases, bringing cases both before domestic courts and international human rights monitoring mechanisms. More than 30 lawyers, law students, researchers, and persons with psychosocial disabilities are involved in the project, aimed at bringing reform at on national law incompatible with the CRPD, enable individuals to seek remedies and reparations for human rights violations, as well as raise public awareness and document human rights violations by the judiciary. DPOs, other CSOs, academics and NHRs could have important important roles in strategic litigation, for example by third-party interventions and amicus briefs, educating courts, raising awareness and promoting the rights of persons with disabilities. Last, I would like to quote Nelson Mandela, and I think this one goes for working together to end abuses for psychiatry as well. It always seems impossible until it's done. And I would add, history has shown us before that discrimination, segregation and oppression are to be defeated. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, especially for that quote and for bringing out the particular needs and the particular protagonistic role of the victims and survivors of these atrocities. Alberto?
I would like to start just reminding that the movement has been, the movement of user survivors, people with psychosocial disability, has been quite successful actually in mainstreaming the absolute prohibition standard in the human rights discourse. And I don't have to go too far to say that it's in the CRPD. The CRPD committee has been very supportive in the general comments. The work of the special rapporteurs, including the special rapporteur on disability, but now even the special rapporteur on health. Human Rights Council resolutions supporting the standard and debates. And more recently, some parts of the World Health Organization very supportive on the standard of absolute prohibition. I think it's important to remember this, because it's important also to remember that one of our best chances that we have to end for psychiatry for a long time has been the UN system. But we need to move away from just focusing on the treaty bodies, but we need to see the UN system as a whole, as an ally. And I would like to bridge to that, from there to this process that we're living now on the UN Disability Inclusion Strategy, which is an opportunity for ending for psychiatry, I think, because this is a system-wide strategy adopted by the UN system recently, and tomorrow it's going to be presented by the Secretary General, and which includes a policy and accountability framework on disability inclusion. And this includes many indicators, 15 indicators to be specific, that covers consultation with people with people with disabilities, including people with psychosocial disabilities, programming, ensuring that the investments of the UN at country level are aligned with the rights of people with disabilities, capacity development from the staff. So there are many entry points to include the rights of people with psychosocial disabilities in this discussion. And this not only applies to UN entities, but it also applies for UN country teams. So we have a chance to do some advocacy at a national level through the UN in those countries that we have country teams to make a change, I think. And of course, this is an opportunity, and we need to seize that opportunity. But if we're not mainstream in the UN in this UN Disability Inclusion Strategy, I think the risk is we're going to be left behind and put under the discussions of a possible UN mental health strategy that is under discussion. So, of course, we don't want to fall under that. We want to fall under the disability strategy. So, I think it's important to take into account that process as part of these efforts, how we promote the absolute provision standard.
Thank you, Alberto. And you're absolutely right. It does help to situate this debate in the context of the work that has been done already at the international level beyond the treaty bodies. And I think it is especially significant that the World Health Organization has the team that they have working on rights and policy has completely adopted the CRPD point of view, and they're promoting it in their work on capacity building and other initiatives they're taking. So that helps to, and the Human Rights Council resolutions, there are many ways that it is already becoming entrenched, and it gets deeper and wider all the time. And pointing to the UN disability strategy as a way, as an arena where we can all really make sure to get more involved and need to at the international level. Sharon?
The first thing I would say is that the UN bodies have to develop working models. Declarations, interpretations are not enough. Society and the medical profession have to envision another reality. We have to understand that for psychiatry is so deep-seated that in order to have another system, we have to envision another reality. From my experience, fighting for psychiatry is the hardest challenge in all realms of people with disabilities that we have gone through in civil society over the years. So we have to go beyond words. For example, develop a working model of supported decision making. How do we apply what has been done in guardianship to this arena? When we talk about alternatives, what are the principles of such a system? We have to work at it and envision it. I think the UN has a lot of power in showing the way, the new direction. The second thing I would ask the committees is that mandate and look for abolishment of all coercion legal tools, not only for psychiatry. When you put a dam on the waters of forced psychiatry, we see now, and you can see that the waters will go sideways. They will go to family courts. They will go to other forced measures by social workers. The abolition has to be in totality. And the third thing, which may be, I don't know, surprising when you talk about the survivor movement, I think it is time to go outside our world and engage with the psychiatric community and have them come on board. I think this practice has been their bedrock for 200 years. The time has come for them to be players also. In Israel, we have fought against the practice of restraint. Civil society has made a dramatic struggle, and the numbers have gone down dramatically, almost an 80% reduction, which is dramatic and unbelievable, but 20% of practice still exists. And in order to move to the total new reality, we have to bring them on board. We have to engage with, I think, their inner motivation of coming to this field. I think they too can get the message of the CRPD and bring it into their professional practices.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for bringing in the question of how to relate with the psychiatric community and perhaps more broadly the community of mental health practitioners who are not all necessarily medical. And I guess that raises a question that we might discuss later, how to actually bring them in an effective way to work with us, to be allies in making these changes that are needed. Yeah, Mr. Schefer.